Okay, hi guys. This is 5 reasons why your SMP keeps fading and how to avoid it. Number one, maybe it's not done quite correctly in the first place. Now, the thing is with SMP, you want to get the impressions in there in the right depth of skin so that they stay there for a long time. But the trouble is, if somebody is very light and they're just tapping on the scalp, all that's going to happen is that it's not going to be quite deep enough in the skin, and the impression is just going to lift and fade and just give you a dull kind of cloudy look. So that is one reason why it could be fading off. But you've got to be careful because we want to get them impressions in there, but we don't want them in too deep. So this is the trick of SMP. So getting the impressions in there and a really tight, nice impression, and they should stay there for a good long time. Number two, aftercare during the healing, first week or two, critical stages. So I mean, with some people, like we tell them, well, with everybody, we tell them to avoid any sweating or getting the head wet. Do not wash it for 4 or 5 days. These are factors that could cause your SMP to fade. I mean, at the same time, we do have clients that leave the clinic and they go straight to the gym and they wash their head and everything's totally fine. But with some people, you've got to be careful. So that's why we give these instructions 4 or 5 days. Just leave it to dry heal. The reason being is that skin that's kind of just broken, where the impression has gone in, needs to just seal up, and then the ink will dry out underneath and on the top. And after about a week, that ink is going to flake away and it will be left inside underneath the skin. So it's very important that we follow the aftercare. I'm not going to go too deep into all of the aftercare, but if you follow your aftercare that should be given to you by your provider, if you haven't got that, then I can drop a link below that will give you the aftercare for straight after your treatment, and then you should have a better chance of it not fading. Number three, exposure to continuous sunlight. So obviously, most people know the sun is going to be beating down on your scalp, and that UV light is going to gradually fade the ink that's in there. It's going to break down the molecules. All right. So we want to protect it. So you can use factor 30, factor 50, whatever factor you want to use. If you're in continuous sunlight, you don't need to worry if you're just walking out, going to your car, going to the shops, whatever. You don't need to be that worried about it. But if continuous sunlight, if you're in the sun for a long period of time, it is going to fade it. In some cases, I get clients, they come back to me after a couple of years, they don't care. They're happy for it to fade. They're happy to have these irregularities appear on their scalp. So if you're not that bothered, it's not a bad thing. It actually looks quite natural, but it is going to fade it a little bit in places. So you might, if you're one of these that doesn't really care, and you continue to get continuous sunlight on it, you're going to get some fading and you might need top-ups more regular. But if you can protect it with a hat, with some sunscreen, you'll have a better chance of it lasting longer. Number four, your immune system. So it's a bit difficult to tell what your immune system is like before you have SMP. This is something you're just going to have to learn over time. So if you've followed all the aftercare, you've continuously used sunscreen, you used a hat to protect it, you've done everything possible, now you're still achieving a bit of fading. So what is the problem? It could be your immune system. We know that with some people, like especially like Sammy who works here, his skin from the inside starts to eat away at the pigment, right? So you're going to get a little bit of fading through that. You're never going to know if this is you until that time comes. So if we followed every other thing correctly, then we can put them to the side and go, okay, it must be this. You're just one of these people that eats away at the pigment. So that won't be a continuous fade all over. That will be fading out in certain areas. Okay, and it just means that you might need regular top-ups. It's no big deal. Number five, you just get used to the look. You've had years of having no hair, you've had SMP done, you've had it on there, you've got used to it. Over a bit of time, you just get used to it. You just get used to having this new look and you think it's getting lighter. I get people come back a year later, oh, it's faded. It's like, no, it looks exactly the same as when I done it. They've just got used to that new look. So that is going to happen. When you have your treatment done, you're going to leave the clinic, and then within probably 2, 3, 4 weeks, you're going to see a certain amount of what people call fading, but that's just the SMP settling in. It's going to reduce by 20, 30% because them impressions that we've done when they're fresh, you can see the ink straight away. And then as it heals, the skin's coming over the top. You're now looking at them impressions through the skin. So it's always going to look a little bit lighter a few weeks after treatment. All right. So once you've had your SMP done, and then you're going about your life, and then you just get used to that new look and you think you need more. It's natural. People just get greedy. We just want more of everything, right? So as an overview, there's a few reasons why your SMP might fade. All right. There's also a lot of other things that people say, oh, I've got oily skin, this is why, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there's lots of different variables and reasons, but in my experience, if you can get them impressions in there, then it's going to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. You're going to get certain people that it lightens up more than others. All right. So don't be scared of the sun. Don't be scared of anything. All right. Just go about your business. If you need a top up session in a year, 2 years, then so be it. It's okay. If you don't need a top up session for 4 or 5 years, then hey, you're one of the lucky ones. So it's really not that big of a deal. All right. We just need to make sure your SMP is done correctly in the first place. Okay, I hope it's been helpful. There's a whole load of variables at play. So I hope this video has been helpful and might put your mind at ease with a few little things. All right, I'll catch you next time.